Hi, my name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO and founder of Third Stage Consulting Group. We're an independent digital transformation consulting firm, and we help clients through their entire digital transformations from start to finish. One of the main things that we help our clients with as part of those digital transformations is the entire organizational change management component. And one body of research that I really enjoy reading about is APQC. They do a lot of great research and benchmarks and that sort of thing. And I try to read their stuff as much as I can. And one of the reports they put out recently that was particularly intriguing is one about change management adoption. And I wanted to just talk about what some of those survey findings showed in their research and also translate that into what that means to your digital transformation and how you can make your digital transformation better, particularly from a organizational and an operational perspective. So one of the first things that they highlight in this video is, or in this study, is that change methodologies are mixed. So there isn't any one kind of standard approach to change management, which in my opinion is a good thing because every situation is different. There's certain tool sets that have different strengths and weaknesses. So when we look at the adoption here in terms of what they found in their survey, it's actually pretty consistent with what we see with our clients. You have companies that are using Lean Six Sigma, which has been around for quite some time. You have some that are taking an ad hoc approach, some that are using ProSci, some have homegrown approaches. Kotters is a common one, particularly for some large organizations. And then you see that 32.3% of organizations are using some sort of hybrid approach. And probably the most concerning part is that 15% don't have a change management methodology. And so this just really just scratches the surface of a couple of different things. One is that the use of change management tool sets is not at all standardized in the industry, and there is no one size fits all answer. And then the other part of this is that even though this shows what change methodologies are being used, it doesn't necessarily mean that these methodologies are being used well. And one thing that we see is that even companies that are using a specific methodology are either trying to force fit that methodology into a digital transformation situation where maybe it isn't quite the right fit, or it is the right fit, but it's just not being executed well and it's not executed properly. So this hopefully gives you a sense of some of the different methodologies that are being used in the marketplace as a benchmark for your digital transformation. Similarly, there's a lot of variation in how companies are structuring their change management teams. So if you look at the bottom with the bar chart here, you see that about a quarter of projects have a centralized full-time team. About a quarter over on the other side of the screen on the right side are using just an ad hoc approach. And then the rest are using some kind of mix of centralized, part-time, decentralized, full-time, part-time, federated, whatever the case may be. So a lot of extremes here, a lot of different ways of managing change. And then, of course, there's those 20% that don't have any sort of staff dedicated to change management, which if you're to look at the correlations, those 20% are a lot more likely to struggle pretty significantly in their digital transformations. When we look at the change methodologies and how they're integrated with other change methods outside of pure organizational change management per se, you can see that a majority are integrated with the overall project management, which is good. And that makes a lot of sense because typically a change management team needs to be integrated in and embedded with the overall project team. And then you have process management, which 58% are falling within that area. And then there's performance management, where about a third are focused on performance management or integrated with performance management. A third are integrated into Lean Six Sigma, and then another third are integrated into Lean. So a lot of different approaches that change management is integrated with, and so it's not surprising that these large-scale projects are integrated with some of these different methodologies. Now, overall, if we look at just what is the bottom line for change management adoption, the types of approaches and methods that are being used by organizations out there, you can see what some of the strengths and weaknesses are according to this APQC study that they conducted late last year. And you can see that companies in general are doing some things well as far as using a change of method, a mix of change methodologies involving leadership, actively supporting leadership through training. But there's a lot of opportunities for improvement too. And this is very consistent with what we see in terms of probably the most important one I see is that the first bullet here on the right side of your screen, which is using centralized or federated change teams to manage the broader portfolio of changes. What we see a lot of times with clients that we work with that are going through digital transformations is they start off with the idea that the change is just going to be organic and we're going to trust our leaders and our management team to drive the change. And you certainly want those people involved, and they are certainly key components of the change. But without some kind of organization and structure and kind of a centralized change methodology and communication framework, it's going to be very inconsistent at best in terms of how that organic change management happens. So it's a fine line between owning the change with your management team and your key stakeholders versus relying too much on consultants to drive the change. You've got to find that right balance to where you've got a centralized team that is consisting of internal and external people, but ultimately at the end of the day, relying on and disseminating the change activities and communications out to the stakeholders and the key management team. Some of the other things that they identify as potential improvement opportunities, building flexibility into the change plans, leveraging peer-led training, including rewards like compensation or promotion considerations. Those are some of the more tactical things that the study finds. But more importantly, and something that I didn't see here in this study that we often see with change adoption and improvements for opportunity is really focusing on how are we going to drive changes to the culture and the operating model of what it is we want this digital transformation to enable. The technology itself isn't going to make those changes happen. And we don't want the technology to force a certain culture onto us. We want our culture to drive what that technology deployment or digital transformation looks like. So taking a more deliberate, upfront, active approach and a structured approach to defining what your future state culture and operating model is going to be and putting some of those changes into motion, even though those changes are going to take time to stick, at least you're using your business and your organization as a framework, the guardrails for a digital transformation, so that, like I said before, the technology doesn't just happen to you and you don't accidentally end up with whatever culture and operating model the technology or the system integrator ends up defining for you. So those are some of the things to think about as you embark on your change initiatives. Change management is an area that's near and dear to my heart. That's how I started my career. So at any point, if you'd like to talk about change management or bounce around ideas, feel free to reach out. I've included my phone number and email address here, as well as my LinkedIn profile. So hopefully you'll connect with me on LinkedIn. And also encourage you to please like my YouTube channel as well if you like this type of content. So hope you all have a great day. I hope you find this information useful and look forward to chatting with you soon.